So we're going to talk about Solana. It's been a few weeks. I talked about it. I said it was going to go up. It did. We need to now go over it again. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, subscribe, bell button, leave a like, all that good stuff. Something's happened in the recent sort of history of issues with this. We're going to talk about it. We'll talk about the price, talk about BTC pairs as well. But if you don't know what this is essentially similar to Ethereum. It is a layer 1 blockchain. It's much faster, it's more efficient. It has had an issue and we need to talk about it. However, Ethereum has issues every day. It's called fees and they're horrible. Transactional costs on Solana are totally different. It is a decentralized blockchain built to enable scalable, user-friendly apps for the world. However, that decentralization word might be underlined and may have to kick off the DE on it because there was a bit of a problem with it. We broke pretty big. So it was a resource exhaustion, a denial of service, so they have to turn it off basically, which is a problem. That outage is not good. So if you don't know this blockchain, this application, or so to speak, is still in its beta stage, which is fine. However, the element to this is that this is why we need to be careful with blockchains, and sometimes governance needs to be passed through quickly. But this is why these events will make projects better. Ethereum gets basically done over all the time. If you look at the DeFi world and how many funds have been lost, hacked or whatever, it's due to certain smart contract failures, right? This is a little bit different. A denial service is where they will basically flood a network to enable it to crash. Basically, simple as that. It's not the greatest terminology in the world, but it basically causes confusion. So you can see here, third parties that validate transaction on the blockchain elect to coordinate to restart a network because of the confusion. So it's a one way to just stop it and go, right, let's have a little bit of a condo moment and just chill out and relax. 17 hours later, it then went back online, but that is a major outage and is a major issue. This is why network security and staking mechanisms for proof of stake blockchains are fucking vital, even though this can still happen. So we need to be careful, right? So this is the one element that always puts me off one individual layer 1 blockchain. And I've mentioned it before why I'm a Polkadot fan. Polkadot is an individual layer for each single one, i.e. parachain is one layer 1, another parachain is another layer 1. It's within its own house. Whereas the likes of Solana, yes, it has scalable mechanisms, which is better than Ethereum. Proof of failure is all within one layer still, technically, if you think about it that way. So we've got to be careful. Even though it's like all the shebang, it's got all this stuff, it's a growing network with 400 projects, there's still one proof of failure because guess what? Within that 17 hours, nothing worked. So that's a problem. Whereas with the likes of Polkadot, it's a little bit different. Only the one will break, which is quite good. But it shares that network security being a layer 0. So always have your eyes on what other layer 1 blockchains are going to do what. Because even though we have Solana, we've also got the likes of Cosmos, we've got the likes of Avalanche, Ethereum, Cardano, etc. Right? We've got loads. But the reason why I prefer Polkadot is because each one of those individual entities as a layer 1 blockchain could plug into the Polkadot ecosystem as a substrate to enable cross-chain. It will then share the network security of Polkadot and it will be able to communicate, enabling these networks to become stronger as well. So always good to have an eye on layer 1s, certainly if they want to plug in to certain frameworks such as Substrate. But that's the technical shit out the way. We've got to be careful, right? This is a problem with crypto. New assets, new problems every day, and we're always going to have a bit of an issue. Realistically though, looking at the weekly time frame on this, we'll look at USD first and we'll go over to the BTC pair. It's not bad, has it really, considering there has been a bit of a wobble. Yes, we were $220, now we're $146. It happened. But as you know, I did a video on this about 4 weeks ago. Basically, I think it was around this point, I can't quite remember. But I was saying that it hasn't finished yet. The run is still going to continue going up, and it absolutely blew past my expectations, as you could probably see. Now, if we're going to go from the obvious here, this low point here, to this top, we're at the 618 on the nose, right? Absolutely perfect, which is what you want. However, I also mentioned in another video when I did a little glance at it, it's still in a bit of a downtrend because we've got this high, we've got this low, lower high, lower low, right? We've got to break out of this. So we'll see where it goes, see if it does break structure, and then eventually it could start going up. So expect an impulse at some point, but a potential target could actually be way beyond all-time high. If we are going to see this bull run in Q4, which I think is going to happen technically in terms of the layout of the architecture of the chart and the volume and the sentiments all there, not to mention previous data that Q4 on crypto is usually pretty good. If we still get bailouts and stuff in China, it's going to increase that global effect of quantitative easing, enabling that US dollar to fall. Therefore, we should be okay. But we've got to be careful. This has had a monster retracement. If you did buy this top, unlucky, learn from it, get over it, go again, you'll be fine. But let's look at other situations on this, because realistically, though, I'm not 100% certain that this is going to just, fly up to the moon straight away. We are at level of resistance right now. Okay, if we're looking at that Fibonacci there, we have literally gone from this top to this level, and we've literally binned it a little bit. We need to be careful. We do not need to. I shouldn't hope so. We can't. If this wants to continue going higher, we can't make a new low because it is in a downtrend technically. If we go to the lower time frame, go down to the 12-hour, you'll probably see it in more detail. There you go. So it is in a downtrend. It needs to break structure. It is struggling to get over that point right now, but it is very, very early in the day or the week, essentially. It will recover at some point, but it has had a big impulse on, from that 618 level. As you can see, it's in a real good push. However, if it breaks up to the upside, brilliant. That's all we want, and that could be quite good. And we, as I say, other extensions up here, pretty damn nice. But network effects, bit of confidence back in the market, it should be all right in USD. BTC pair, right? Again, similar situation, but nowhere near as deep. Oh dear, wrong one. Nowhere near as deep in terms of the retracement. Okay, so it didn't hit the 618, mainly hit the 50% mark, but it's still looking okay. But it is at a level of resistance right now, roughly around this point, 382. So we'll see where it goes. But again, it's similar sort of elements, but it's not as clear cut. It is still forming a slight downtrend where it has formed lower lows and lower highs, but it's a bit more stable because the dominance chart is still falling. A lot of people are still geared up to buy altcoins right now because of the sentiment. That will eventually flip at some point. There will be a time where the dominance will rise again. Therefore, people will move money into Bitcoin because of two situations. One, the market's crashed, or two, the obvious one, Bitcoin is flying to the moon and people want to jump on that little gravy train that they're trying to get onto. So just be careful, right? Overall, though, am I worried about Solana? No, I think it's still relatively, at the moment, I still think it's quite undervalued versus the likes of, well, obviously Ethereum. You could even argue Binance Smart Chain, even Cardano. It could still grow a good multiples. It could maybe do 2 or 3x and still be untapped potential. We just don't know how big it's going to be. But it all depends on what you fancy, what you like. At the end of the day, any sort of network effect will enhance over time. Strong sentiment in the market will always factor that in. So just be careful. But what I would say with this, I think we are going to go a little bit higher because this looks a bit neater. Realistically, though, I think we may well get a little bit of a resistance level just a bit higher. But it wouldn't shock me the slightest if we start going back up to this point here where the 618 is. Certainly to test, the resolve of the market, see if it is going to continue going higher. But it has had a huge run at the end of the day. So just be careful. A lot of people have been caught out by this. But realistically, though, fingers crossed, the market in Q4 isn't done yet. And we could start seeing a much higher move to the upside, essentially, whether you're in Solana or other layer 1 blockchains, essentially, because it still feels like a lot of blockchains could grow, whether it is Solana, whether it's another blockchain. But at the same time, though, you've got to look at growth. I've already mentioned it. The bigger this grows and the more the ecosystem improves and the better reliability the chain gets for more use cases, it's just going to grow. And this is why I always say that I think Ethereum will lose out a little bit, because a lot of projects will eventually start looking to use the likes of Solana or Avalanche, for example, to build. Whereas maybe Ethereum, due to its fees, may not be the default anymore.